Hey friends, welcome to a new video. We're going to be reviewing what my journals looked like in Q2. So if that's something that you're interested in, it's going to be a full overview. Keep on watching. Hello, so welcome to the Q2 planner and journal update, aka the mid-year techo kaigi. I'm so excited to have you here with me today. I wanted to start off with just showing you, like, this is what the stack was at the end of my Q1 planner update. I have those all here. There is some slight differences to the inside of the TN, but we'll get to that. This was what I ended up... That was a little haphazard, to be honest. This is what I ended up deciding was going to be my stack leading into Q2. And we're going to talk about how that changed and what my plan is going into Q3. Can you believe that we're already halfway through the year? Like mid-year techo kaigi? How? Okay, how? What is time? Yes, super excited to show you what's changed. If you are interested in knowing the details surrounding this, then do check out that video. I will go ahead and link it up above, the Q1 planner update. But yeah, let's just get on to chatting about what the journal moves were in Q2. So let's start off with what did not transfer into Q2 as I had once anticipated. Yeah. Okay. So starting off, rings. Let's get it out of the way. Elephant in the room. Rings is still, it's still untouched. Relatively untouched. I haven't been able to figure out what I want to do with this, mostly because I just haven't figured out or had the time to sit down and figure it out. If I had the time to put into it, then maybe by now I would have decided what it is that I want to do with it. But honestly, I don't know, and I haven't had the time. So rings is out. Nothing happened with it in Q2. I think out of all of them, I didn't even get a chance to try. I did think a little bit about making it, like a references journal. I still think that's probably going to be the best way to use it for me and my systems, as either reference journal or like writing like typewriter notes, and putting this in here. That's, I think the best way. I can't find myself really investing a lot of time into cutting out and printing out or I guess printing out, cutting out, punching holes, and having to do that time and time again. Right now, with the way that my life is panning out, with how busy and so many different projects that I have going on, it's just not a thing. So long-winded way of saying that, sadly, rings is not a thing for me at the moment. And maybe in Q3, I'll have the moment to be able to figure out what I want to use it for. But for now, it's out. Nothing going on with this. I am not going to sell it. This is the Portobello personal size, by the way, for anyone who's wondering. I got it off Mercari for quite a steal. I'm not going to be selling this. I do really like the cover, but yeah, it's just not really serving any purpose at the moment. Next up is the Hobonichi Weeks that I had started the year off using this as a health planner and just a general life tracker, and totally fell off. Let's see, when's the last time I used this? I had plans of trying to figure it out in Q3, but I don't even think I used it in March. Yeah, last time I was in here was March, I guess, 7th. So yeah, haven't really used that either. Haven't really figured out. It's really sad because I have essentially 3 Hobonichi Weeks for 2024. 3 or 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1? I can't count. I had 4. I gifted 1 to a friend of mine. I have 3 Hobonichi Weeks that I have no idea what to use them for at the moment, and I'm just letting that be. I'll talk a little bit later about a potential use for one that I had figured out, and spoiler alert, that didn't end up working out either. But I am one of those people that if I have the journals, I will experiment with different options of using them throughout the year, so it's not a total loss. And I mean, the option always exists to redate these in the future if I find myself needing them, but right now, not really doing much, not doing anything at all with this week's. So also didn't make the cut to for most, I actually didn't use it at all in Q2, even though I had the intention of figuring that out, didn't use it, and don't plan on using it in Q3 either. So again, this one is out. And then lastly, another one that I had the intention of using is the Paper Test B6. I apologize for anyone that I am offending with this fish print. A few people have told me that I am a brave person for putting these fisheye right in the front of my notebook. This is a print by Mags Monroe. I support them on Patreon, and I absolutely love this print. I think I have... Oh no, I think I have the other one on the Avec. But yeah, sorry if I'm offending you with the eye. Just don't look at it. I had intended to try and use this. I was feeling a little on edge regarding my work and social media planning. So the intention was in Q2 to try and use this for that. And truthfully, let's see. I tried it out in, I think, the first week. Last week of March. I tried it out for, you know, social media planning and work planning. I did end up using a few weeks in here. I think this is another way that I used it. I'm not going to zoom you in too much in here because there is confidential info. I don't want that to be super zoomed in, but I did try using it for work and social media planning. I think that only lasted 2 weeks. Then I tried it for daily logging because I was feeling a little discontent in the way that I was doing my daily logs. Speak a bit more about that in a second. Also didn't like that. Tried going back to media logging in here the way that I had in the beginning of the year, and that also did not end up working. I did transfer all of this information already and then haven't used it since. Again, I really do enjoy the layout of the Paper Test B6, but my major issue with it is just the thickness of the book. I don't like writing in it. The writing experience for me is just, I don't like my hand slipping off the side. I don't like it. And so because I don't have a great experience writing in it, then I don't find myself wanting to be in it. And the whole point of having a journal is being inside of it. So for that reason, Paper Test B6, also have no intention of using that going into Q3. Again, might find myself wanting to go into it. Sometimes you just get bored, right? Like sometimes you're very content in your systems, but you want something different. Because we are creative people, because we do want to change things up every once in a while. So that might happen, and you might in the Q4 update, I might talk about how I experimented in here again. But for now, no plans of using this into Q3. I always have to think about like how I'm gonna divide this up so that I can do efficient timestamps. Let's just get it out of the way. Morning pages journal, still going strong. I put this into my bag and the sticker kind of like felt like ripped off. Don't love that for me, but I probably will just stick it in later. I'm still going strong in this. Didn't finish it in Q2. We shall see if I finish it in Q3. We have currently on page 169, and there are 251 pages. Do I know how to do math? More than 100 pages. 100 and something. 110? Something like that. I apologize if I'm offending anyone who's really good at math. But yeah, still going strong in the morning pages. For the month of May, pretty much sadly didn't do much in here because it was such a crazy month. But I'm really determined to get back into my morning pages practice because I really just feel less scattered when I'm able to come in here every single morning and journal in here. So yeah, still using this journal, still trying to build a consistent morning pages practice. So nothing is changing there. Okay, let's see. I just want to talk about some that might be easier to talk through. This is a Japanese learning journal that I set up. There is a video for that setup if you're interested in. It's really just me decorating the cover pages and all that stuff. I haven't used this much. Again, May was a pretty hectic month, and a lot of the things that I had been doing as kind of extracurricular as like hobbies fell through the wayside, and part of that is also my Japanese learning. So I haven't really been much in here aside from the fact that when I have been practicing Japanese, it's been more app based, so haven't used this very much. Did consider the possibility of maybe starting a passport for it, a passport TN. Did buy this grid that I haven't used yet, trying to figure out what I want to do with it, but that's nothing concrete for now. We're gonna keep it in the Midori notebook. right? The MD notebook, yeah. And yeah, so that's still something that I will be using into Q3. No plans to change it just yet, but it is a little bit on the chopping block, I guess you'd say. It is a little bit on the chopping block, and I guess since I've already started with this, we'll continue talking on the ones that are kind of I'm feeling a little lukewarm about them, right? So that's that one. And then I guess we'll talk about the Hobonichi Cousin. So currently in Q2, I used primarily the Hobonichi Cousin for work. I'm not gonna flip through this because there's a lot of sensitive information in here, but I did primarily use this for work. Something that I talk about a lot is how I don't like using dated things for journaling, but I do benefit incredibly from having dated planners for like functional planning. And so even though that is the case, I find myself kind of like going back and forth with the Hobonichi Cousin Avec, or the Cousin in general, the A5 size. I feel serves me well for day-to-day planning, but in terms of pre-planning, I think I prefer pre-planning on a horizontal layout. So I have this horizontal weekly that I have used on and off since last year for work, and I decided a couple weeks ago that I was going to try it out for work instead of the Hobonichi Cousin. So kind of like pre-planning, my week, and then using a grid insert as my dailies, because I do find I do need daily pages for things, but I definitely do benefit from weekly planning, and that's something that I feel I'm not getting in my Hobonichi Cousin. I don't have a space for weekly planning that feels good to me. I don't have a place to do my running to-do list, and I don't have a place to do any of my trackers. So something that I'm missing from when I had my health journal was a place for all of my trackers. And I mentioned this a lot on my Patreon. I do weekly journaling updates, by the way, on my Patreon. There's 4 a month, usually, with the last one being a monthly flip through. So a lot of my patrons have already heard some of these qualms, but I have certain trackers that I like using because it helps me to create habits that I maybe don't have down packed yet, and I didn't have a space for that in the Hobonichi Cousin, so that was something that I was lacking. I also don't have a place for a running to-do list, even though I definitely benefit from having a daily. I think that I can't not use a daily. I think that weeklies and dailies are really the core of my planning. I do need a running to-do list to kind of, again, have a... So I guess what I'm trying to say, for me, I have a lot of moving parts. I have a lot of containers and a lot of projects and a lot of different things that require my attention. And so finding a place where I can kind of like dump all that and decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do this day. This is what I want to do this day. These are my goals for the week. And always having a place to kind of return to center is super important to me, and something that I felt I was lacking in the Hobonichi Cousin. So I can have my dailies on me, like in front of me as I'm working all the time, and have my weeklies on the side where I can always like look into this and confirm that I'm on task and my goals for the week are still being implemented, even if in daily tasks things might get a little scattered, a little hectic, because there's always things that come up on the day that you can't always pre-plan for. But having the weekly really helps me kind of, again, recenter and focus on things that are my priority for the month. And kind of building on that. The way I'm using it this way is I'm dividing my column in half on the horizontal side of it, and I'm doing appointments and my content that's scheduled for those days on this side, on the left side, and then I'm doing tasks that are day specific, that I know that are day specific ahead of my dailies on the right side. And that way I know that when I'm trying to set up my day, I need to put these on first, because these are my high level, they need to be done on this day. And then I have my running to-do list for things that don't have a specific day, but I need to get done in the week. Or things that I know are going to take me more than one day, and I want to keep track of how many days it takes me. I also have like a social media portion of it where I can kind of note down what days I'm video editing, what days I'm recording, what days I am answering comments, and what days I'm dedicating to my major goal for the month, aside from my trackers and my social media stats. So I've been doing this for 2 weeks. I'm gonna do it again next week, and I think that it's gonna work. It's working very well for me now. I would prefer having a dated insert for my dailies. However, I don't really like the Traveler's Notebook daily insert, and I don't know. I'm not sure. I also have the issue where I need to have a place for notes, and that's also a qualm that I have with the Hobonichi Cousin, is that I don't have a place to write notes, and for one of my clients specifically, I do have to write a lot of notes. So right now, having a place where I can do my daily and also a place for notes in the grid insert is working. So I'm curious to see if it will continue to work, but I think that going into Q3, I am gonna continue doing this in the next couple of weeks and see how it works. Hopefully it solves a lot of my issues. That being said, since I have been using this sporadically since last year, love that it's undated for that reason. I only have a couple of weeks left in here. If it does work, I'm considering finding I have found a few online, but they're a little bit expensive. Seeing if I can find the second half of the dated insert for the weekly with memo for 2024 and purchasing that for the next half of the year for July and onwards. If this does go well for the month of June, then I will be doing that and seeing if I can find that and going that way. So if that doesn't work out, then I always have the cousin to go back to, because even though it's not optimal, it is still working for my daily tasks. And so I'd rather just have a system that I can get my tasks ready, like know what I need to do in the week, because I can't just not have a notebook. So it's always there in the backdrop if I need it. I do have the second half of the Avec, and if I do end up deciding I don't want to continue with the cousin for work, then I'll have to decide what I want to do with that second portion, whether selling it or figuring out another purpose for it, because that is dated. And again, dated, I mean, at the end of the day, you can always redate things, but I'd rather not. I'd rather not spend my time redating things. So that's kind of like the situation with work right now. What I'm using, I have done a pretty drastic shift into using mostly TN related products. They're just working for me at the moment. In this season of my life, it seems that I'm really like leaning towards the TN situation. Like I mentioned earlier, one of my major qualms with the paper Tess is how thick it is. I like that this is very thin. I like that I can take them out. I do have a lot of my inserts in covers, but right now my work ones aren't in covers, and it's totally fine for me. I will say it does give me a reason to get another cover if I do end up deciding that I want to use this for work, because then I'll get a monthly and then kind of like use that in tandem. But so far, this is working for me, really enjoying that. And then the cousin is kind of like on the chopping block, whether I end up using it in the quarter or not. So that's like work and functional planning. That's kind of like what's going on there. I did also, actually, now that I'm talking about that, I did make an appearance this month, because when I was trying to figure out my situation with work and figuring it out, I tried to use this in a similar way that I'm using the insert right now, and then just using the note pages for my notes. But something that I was mentioning to my patrons is that I don't really feel the need, like for a lot of my other journals I do, but for work specifically, work notes, I don't feel the need to keep these inserts. They're pretty much throwaway for me. And at first I didn't want to use a TN for that, because I felt bad about the idea of throwing away an insert because they are more expensive. But then I was thinking that the Hobonichi is more expensive than a TN, and I'm currently really not a fan of the Tomoe River paper. For me, it smears a lot, and that really bothers me. It's not so much the ghosting that bothers me, it's the smearing of the ink. And that's definitely a me thing. I'm not patient enough, I guess, to wait for ink to dry. But I'm not having a lot of fun in the Hobonichi Weeks. So even though that was like a week that I tried to do it, it ended up deciding that I didn't want to use this. So this is still not a thing. Still haven't figured out quite what to use the Hobonichi Weeks for, which sucks because I really loved using the Hobonichi Weeks last year for my media journal. Love it. I still look at my media journal, which I'm posting pictures, by the way, on Instagram. I didn't have a place to post those pictures for the 2023 media journal back when I was doing it, but I am posting it on Thursdays, like a throwback Thursday kind of thing on Instagram. So if you're interested, you can do two things, right? You can watch the flip through for the 2023 media journal. I'll link that up above, or you can go on Instagram and just check out those posts on Thursdays. But I really do love the Hobonichi Weeks. I love the form factor. I just, right now, it's not one of those things that's working for me, which sucks, but it is what it is. I'm not going to think too hard about it, and I'm not going to hold myself to this ridiculous, like, I'm not going to make myself feel shame for it. It is what it is, you know? I bought them because I thought I wanted to use them at the time, and I did want to use them at the time, and right now they're just not working for me, and that's that. But yeah, that's the work and functional system at the moment that I'm going to keep moving forward in, the TN, and we'll see if I end up using the Avec at all in June and moving into quarter 3. Still can't believe that quarter 3 is a thing right now. Okay. Let's talk about, the Camel. So the Camel, when I finished Q1 and going into Q2, was what I called my self-improvement journal. And it was housing my Commonplace notebook, it was housing my brainstorm notebook, and it was housing my course notes work notebook. And right now it's housing 2 of those inserts. It's housing the course notes and kind of like study notes and the brainstorming. So this is still technically my self-improvement, but I did move my Commonplace out of it. This has stayed the same. This is going to continue to stay the same. It's kind of right now, the Camel is serving as a sort of overflow journal. If I do end up staying in the TN for work, I might consider moving that into here and then finding another TN for the overflow, but that's still not concrete, especially because I'm like a little all over the place with the media journal right now, which I'll talk about in a second. So something that did shift in terms of the media journal and the daily log. So, well, first major shift is that I was gifted a TN, an olive TN, which is beautiful and gorgeous and amazing. Love it so much. Krista, you're the best. I was gifted this TN cover, and so I had to figure out how to use it. And so when I did that video, that Q2 video, or the Q1 review video, I was backfilling in this insert. And what I had decided at that time was to use this insert as a media journal and a Life Archives daily log, basically an all-in-one for my memory keeping stuff. And it worked really well for backlogging because I already had all of this information, but I found it very difficult to keep up with that in my day-to-day activity because of the images and layouts, and just my brain really was struggling to conceptualize where to write, where not to write. And so I was really struggling with that. What I ultimately decided is that I was going to split things up. So with the addition of my traveler's note of the olive TN, what I ended up doing was splitting up my media journaling and my daily kind of like memory keeping journal and what have you. Let's talk first about the media journal. So a recent change that I made, aside from just splitting the media journal, was in my daily log, I was doing my media reactions. I moved that into my Commonplace. And I will make a dedicated video to how I use my TN inserts. This is just going to be a kind of like overview of how I'm using my journals, but I am currently using my Commonplace system as a place to capture research, copied text, brain drains, and media related thoughts. Media related thoughts will include reactions, review, meta-analysis. Copied text includes things like quotes, lyrics, articles, prose, poetry. Brain drain is more for like things that are stuck in my head and I kind of need to process, unrelated to like daily activities. That would go more in my daily log. And then research stuff. So that's kind of like what I'm using it for. Primarily right now, it's a place for media reactions. And that's kind of like what's going on with my Commonplace. And then I have my my horizontal weekly with memo. I have another horizontal weekly with memo, which is my media log. And I do have a video that goes in depth with how I set one of these spreads up. Again, I'll link that up above and below in the description. I'm using this right now as my media journal, and I absolutely love it. Something that I have been considering now that I changed up my thing with the Commonplace is the possibility of having a passport size media journal. The horizontal with memo, which is what I use for my logs, is the same width, I guess, in the passport. And if I kind of like size this, which is what I've been using for kind of like the entries that I've done related to media reactions, then they kind of fit in the passport size. So it's very possible that I can make it work. I haven't 100% decided though. That's just something that my brain has been kind of thinking about. Again, I think it's because we crave as artists and creatives in general change and switching things up, and I think that's totally normal. And so I think that since I have so many inserts in a standard size, I'm maybe kind of craving a little bit more of a difference in terms of like creative output, especially because for me media journaling is such a creative thing, with creating some of these spreads and using some of the fan art that I and the memes and what have you that I collect. So that's a possibility. I haven't 100% decided that yet, but for now, going into Q3, for now we're staying the same and having the possibility of going into a passport size. Commonplace again with media reactions included, and the horizontal log in the brown TN is kind of like what's going on there with the media logging. And then in my olive, we have like more of my daily logging. And right now I'm also going through a kind of experimental phase with the daily logging. When I decided to move my daily logging into a blank insert, right? So you'll see here, right when I started, it's the same format as I was doing in this insert, but I quickly changed that and I made it so that it was more similar to how I kept it in my paper test B6, where it was just daily logging, and then I do a little column, and on the column I'll write down again the media that I've been consuming. I do like to have Maddie over at Hello Naya, she calls my notebooks telepathic because I like to have them all talk to each other. Yeah, so I do like having like them reference each other. So for me, one of the reasons why I like going in and out of different inserts and I'm not too pressed about it is that since they're all Traveler's Notebook systems, since they're all Traveler's Notebook inserts, at the end of the year, they're gonna go into one archiving system. And to me, that makes it sound like it's one book. Another way that I'm gonna make them talk to each other is that I decided that I was going to use the monthly insert as an index for all of the inserts that I use. So I'll write down, let's say for example, May 1st. Everywhere that I use an insert that references May 1st, because I do number all of my inserts. Before I start using them, I number them all. I'll write the volume, the insert, and the page. And that way, if I want to see all of the inserts in which I spoke about May 1st, then I can have that here. And this will serve as like the first one in the archive as an index for all of my journals. So for me, even though it's multiple inserts, it really feels like it's one big book. I know some people don't feel the same way. Their brain just doesn't work like that. But in my case, it does. And so back here, I was still, you can see, maybe I can zoom you in a little bit so that you can see what I'm talking about. But you can see that I have media reactions here and media related stuff. I did take those out and it's now just like daily stuff. My media reactions are in my Commonplace book. I'm not sure how I feel 100% about that still, like I said, but for now that's how it's working. But then I really did miss, and this is where the experimenting is coming in, I really missed the vertical weekly, and I looked at my Q1 video and I had the same sentiment where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my vertical weekly, and I'm still kind of experimenting with that. when I'm doing my monthly reviews, I find myself wanting to have like a high level overview of what happened in the week. And sometimes it's a little difficult to see that on my daily logs because I am processing a lot of the time. And it's not just a daily log in here. It really is more writing heavy. I do like to write. I am a writer, and so that does tend to happen. So I was really craving a kind of high level overview of what my weeks and my days were looking like. And that's where the vertical came in. I don't know if I love that still. I'm just gonna keep going with it and see what it becomes. Something that I considered as well was using the vertical weekly as a mood tracker. I don't like mood tracking for the day as like a general thing because I'm the type of person that experiences a vast array of moods in the day most of the time. And I saw someone, they were doing it daily though. They were using their colored pencils to draw dots and kind of like categorize their day by mood. And I really loved that. But I'm thinking of possibly doing that by the hour, or not necessarily by the hour, but whenever I remember to. And then at the end of the day, then I'll average it out. I did used to do that back in 2021 on an app. There's an app that I used when I was tracking kind of like my mood when I first started taking antidepressants, that would let you input mood tracks, like moods, by time, and at the end of the day it would average out for what was your average mood in the day. If you have like mostly sad, mostly stressed, but then a happy moment, that'll still average out to a mostly sad day, but you recognize that within the day there was a moment of happiness, and vice versa. You can have a mostly happy day with moments of stress, and I do like that. So I'm considering possibly, since this is a time blocked insert, to maybe use that. That's something that I'm considering. We shall see. I am still experimenting with how I want my daily logs to look like. I also kind of experimented towards the end of May with adding subheadings to some of the daily logging, so that even though I don't want to read the paragraphs all the time, I can kind of use the subheadings or TLDRs. I have also used that before to kind of figure out what it was. I also have the option to use this insert aside from just the mood tracking to track my wins and losses for the day. That might be another way to have like an overview. We shall see. I'm kind of experimenting with that and figuring out what that looks like. But still, again, in the TN system, still very happy to use this. Right now, I am on page 38 of this insert, and there is 60 in terms of like usable ones because I did end up cutting some of them out. So we shall see if I finish this by June, and by the next quarter we have a new insert. I do think I might go backwards because for those of you who know, I was backlogging in here with my paper test V6, but between backlogging and starting the new insert, 2 months essentially passed, February and March, and I don't have any information for those days. I had considered doing research in my notes and pictures and all this stuff to kind of bring those back and log for those days, but lately I've just been thinking, you know what, they're lost. I don't have the time to necessarily look for those things, and so I'm thinking I'm just gonna let bygones be bygones. And if I do decide that, then once I finish that insert, then I will move into this one before starting a new one. You can see here I have other vertical spreads that I had cut out from this one when I thought I wasn't gonna use it anymore for that, so I have to stick those in as well. But yeah, if I do end up deciding that I'm gonna just let February and March go, then I will continue to use this insert for that. And once we finish this, then I'll move into another blank insert and continue on our merry way in regards to daily logging. So I think that's all I got for you in terms of my techo kaigi, my mid-year planner update. Do let me know how your quarter went. Camera cut off because I ran out of battery, but just as a quick little thing, thank you so much for watching. If you have changed in your journals, do feel free to let me know in the comments. If you haven't, how was your Q2? What are you planning for Q3? Let me know. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Bye.